Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to call this meeting of the Renfrew County Housing Corporation to order at 1 p.m. As we gather this afternoon, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we're extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Has roll call been taken, Wendy?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it's been taken.
Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof?
No.
Seeing none, then I will call for a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting held on April 13th, 2022.
Can't do that.
Moved by Councillor Grills, seconded by Councillor Regier. Are there any additions, corrections, or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. So we have no delegations at this time, so we'll move on to the director's report, and Director Lepine.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members of the Renfrew County Housing Board of Directors. I have a very short report, and it begins on page 3 of your electronic package. And the first item is an update on our community housing capital projects. And with your permission, Chair, I would like to invite Manager Kevin Raditz to speak to the current projects and the carryover projects that we have with Renfrew County Housing.
That would be perfect. Thank you. Mr. Raditz, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through the committee. As you can see in the Appendix 1, the first list of projects is pertaining to the 2021 late Q4 carryover projects that started late in Q4. We have 5 of them that are in progress, and things are going relatively well. And if our contractors are telling us if they remain on schedule, these 5 projects should be completed by the end of May. So we're making good progress there in the carryover projects. And pertaining to the Appendix 2 for the 2022 capital projects, these are projects that are over the 50K in value. And as you can see in the list, we have some that are in process of being awarded, and we anticipate one project to start in June. That's pertaining to the 510 McKay Street, the patio door replacement. And the next project, which is at the Lee Street townhome blocks, we anticipate that project will start in August, and that's pertaining to exterior window replacement. And if we go down to the Fraser Arnold's the 260 Elizabeth Street patio exterior door replacements, we anticipate that project should start in mid-July. And then we have 4 roofing projects that it's been out for RFP for design, and we should have those projects starting probably in hopefully mid-July to mid-August. And Chair, that is just an update on the projects for 2022.
Thank you very much. Can I get a mover and a seconder to bring the report to the floor, please? Moved by Warden Robinson, seconded by Councillor Reinwald. Any questions?
R-E-I-N.
I keep wanting to call you Councillor Jacquinot because I see the 2 faces and I get them mixed up. So, are there any comments or questions regarding the update on the report? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. So then we'll move on to the report from the Manager of Housing and Homelessness, and Manager Dombrowski.
Thank you. The Renfrew County Housing Corporation report starts on page 7 of your package. For this meeting, we will start with a summary of statistics for our first quarter of 2022. Information item number 1 provides 2 charts to show what our social housing registry waitlist statistics are. And this is on trend as compared to other quarters. Item number 2 reflects the move-ins, move-outs, and internal transfers, and that again is comparable to previous quarters. Item number 3 reflects the number of landlord and tenant board notices and applications that were sent out for this first quarter. Item number 4 provides information regarding our corporation rent arrears. And I'll bring your attention to the attachment on page 14, and that's Appendix RCHC 2. And within there, you'll see a table that has some little yellow heading over it. And if we take a look at the February 2022 information and compare it to the March 2022 information, we will see that there is a significant drop in rent arrears. And I'll also draw your attention to that same area, just to the right a bit, for March 2018. And we'll see that the $40,000 that's represented for March 2022 is a lot closer to what our arrears were pre-pandemic. So just additional to comment on that is that the Renfrew County Housing Corporation staff, along with the Ontario Work staff, have been working very diligently in communicating with our tenants and offering supports, with whether it be through payment plans and also assistance opportunities through our homelessness prevention program. Item number 5 reflects information for the first quarter, and this is our Consolidated Homelessness Prevention Initiative. So we'll see in upcoming reports that the language will change to reflect the new name of the program funding, being the new Homelessness Prevention Program. So within here, we'll see in the first chart that we have a slightly higher number of applications that have come through as opposed to previous quarters, and that is reflecting some of the rent arrears work that happened with our RCHC tenants. If we move on to page 10, that's our area for the rent allowance. And within that area, you will see the number of households that were assisted. So for example, in the month of January, 81 single people were assisted and 34 families were assisted. And the overall expenditure was just over $35,000. And those numbers are pretty close to average. We don't go up or down from that too often. Other than in our upcoming quarters when we report, we will see additional applications remarked in this section because we have allocated a greater amount of homelessness prevention funding to cover new applications. Next within this section would be the emergency minor home repairs. And within the first quarter, there was only the one application that was approved. Item number 6 for your review would be the treasurer's report. And this is our first quarter, so things are on track. We will see underspending in some areas. However, that's regular as far as our business goes every time at this time of year. And then next up, we have 3 resolutions.
Excuse me, maybe we'll do the information items first, and then we'll do the resolutions.
Certainly.
Thank you. So moving back to the beginning of the information items, we have item number 1, the first quarter community housing registry waitlist statistics. Comments or questions? Item number 2 are the move-ins, move-outs, and internal transfer comparisons. Item number 3 is the landlord and tenant board notices and applications. Comments or questions? Seeing none, item number 4 is the Renfrew County Housing Corporation rent arrears. This is good news, and thank you very much to Ms. Dombrowski and her staff for bringing those numbers down, and hopefully that can continue. Item number 5 is the Consolidated Homelessness Prevention Initiative. Yes, Warden Robinson.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just note that we've only have one approval for emergency minor repairs in the first quarter. That seems kind of low to me. I'm just wondering how many applicants we actually received, and are we not able to assist people for one reason or another?
Ms. Dombrowski?
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to our board. Yes, that is low. It's something that is remarkable. We did have several other applications come through. The arrangement that we have for these applications is that staff consult with me regarding each application, and our stance with community services is that we always look to approve and say yes. However, there are certain circumstances regarding household income that would preclude eligibility, and other circumstances such as failing to submit documents, as far as estimates and other documents regarding household income that are not submitted that would have an application stop. So unfortunately, out of the several applications that we received, I believe there was about 4, we only were able to approve 1.
Supplementary, Warden?
Thank you, Chair. Can you just remind me what the threshold is for family income to receive this? Because again, I have been involved with people in the past who've required this service, and and I just think about it, that had they not been able to get the emergency funds, they would have probably been living in a home that should not have been occupied.
Ms. Dombrowski?
Certainly, through you, Chair, to the board. I will just take one moment so that I'm able to refer to my notes. I'm just going to refer to I don't have it handy, I'm just looking at it now. And I'm sorry for the delay, I'm just calling it up now. The household income threshold is at $60,000. So that would be for all adults in the home to not exceed that amount.
Yes, Warden.
That is so incredibly low, and I feel for you and your staff having to say no to people. Now, is this a threshold that we can control, or is it a provincial directive?
This is a threshold that we are able to control. The emergency minor home repair program is something that was designed by the County of Renfrew. It was our innovative way to use funds through our CHIPPY funding. I think I'll just continue on as Chair if that's okay. I think when we look over at the amount of applications that come through, it's my understanding that it's not always the income limit that precludes eligibility. And through that understanding, a recommendation was made over at our previous committee meeting to maintain the $60,000 household income threshold, but to look at increasing property value and actual grant amounts, because there is a rule within the program that limits the approval capacity, in that if a roof repair, for example, was to cost more than $5,000, it would be ineligible. So that was something that was a stopping factor for some applications going forward in our previous cycle, and thus we made a recommendation to have that increased.
Anything else, Warden?
No, that's fine. I'll have a conversation some other day.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on item 5? So under 5, we had the homelessness prevention program, the rent allowance, and the emergency minor home repairs. And then item number 6 is the treasurer's report. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, then I will ask Ms. Dombrowski to go ahead with our resolutions.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the board. Our first recommendation, if I'm able to start by reading the recommendation and then providing some highlights of the background information, would that be acceptable? Thank you. So the first recommendation is that the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Board of Directors approve that staff offer the affordable home ownership and Ontario Renovates programs to eligible homeowners starting June 6, 2022. So some background information that I'll highlight is as follows. Originally, the County of Renfrew had offered this program several years ago through funding that came through federal and provincial levels of government. And a condition of that funding was that we establish revolving loan fund accounts, and that we would be able to approve additional applicants in the future, subject to having sufficient balances to do so, and that the applications would be approved following the original rules and for the intended use. So we did discontinue offering this program after the applications were approved in 2019. And between 2019 and now, we have seen an accumulation of funds within these revolving loan accounts. Most currently would be a balance of just over $331,000 for affordable home ownership, and just over $259,000 for Ontario Renovates. We did make an inquiry with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, as did many other municipalities, as to whether or not we were able to transfer funding from one program to another, and we were recently reminded that we were not able to do that. Some additional information for your review is a chart that shows some performance indicators as to what our previous funding issuances were, along with recoveries to date. I'm going to skip along to point out appendixes. The first one starts at page 17. It is RCHC Appendix 4. And that includes information regarding program eligibility and the application form itself for the Affordable Homeownership Program. This program can help with a maximum down payment of up to $25,000 to help a family or a household secure a primary residence. There is a condition with it. There is a 20-year agreement where if the home is sold prior to the 20 years, that a prorated amount would be repayable to the County of Renfrew. Starting at page 21 would be the program rules and eligibility criteria, along with application for the Ontario Renovates program. And this Appendix 5 gives some examples as to what eligible repairs could include. So for folks who for some reason were not qualifying for emergency minor home repairs, they may look to this program for assistance and could have assistance with repairs such as, chimney repairs, repairs to roofs, plumbing, septic systems, and so forth. And of course, we would be looking at the applications. Unfortunately, there's limited funding, so we would be looking at applications on an eligibility, and after that eligibility is met on a first come, first served basis. And because we do anticipate there to be great public interest for this, I think we will probably see Ontario Renovates applications have great uptake and go very quickly. We have set the date with this board's approval of June 6th to launch this for both Ontario Renovates and affordable home ownership, so that would be the day that we would start to accept applications, and we would not accept applications prior to that date. So perhaps, Chair, I can stop here and answer any questions that may come up.
Thank you, Ms. Dombrowski. So I'll get a mover and a seconder to bring the recommendation forward. Moved by Councillor Grill, seconded by Councillor Jacquinot. Warden Robinson.
Thank you very much, Chair, and through you to Jennifer. That's where I was going with the last emergency repairs. I was wondering if the next step would be to offer the Ontario Renovates program to people that aren't eligible for the lower one. So I'm thrilled to hear that. I was pretty sure that's where you were taking me. And I do notice too that to purchase a home, that the purchase price can't exceed $331,000, and in our area, there are very few homes that are going to come under the $331,000 limit, and those that do are probably going to require significant renovations. So I'm sure the Ontario Renovates program is going to be very, very popular, and your staff are going to be very, very busy. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So, Ms. Dombrowski, did you want to continue with item number 8?
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the board. Item number 8 is another recommendation. May I start with the recommendation and a highlighting of the background? Okay. The recommendation is as follows: that the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Board of Directors approve Community Housing Directive 1 regarding asset limits for rent geared to income subsidies. So some background information is that recently, and this was communicated at a previous board meeting, that the provincial government had introduced a series of regulation updates to the Housing Services Act. And one of those updates reflected in this recommendation has to do with service managers prescribing an asset limit for rent geared to income eligibility. The minimum asset limit that we are allowed to implement is $50,000, and throughout the contents of Appendix 6, that where you'll find the draft directive, there's quite an extensive list as to what certain asset exemptions would be. Additional background information to this is that the service managers across Ontario do converse regularly regarding program initiatives launched through MMAH and of course these regulations. And through those conversations, I learned that there are some municipalities that of course already had asset limits prescribed. One had an asset limit of $35,000 that they're looking to increase to meet the regulation requirement, and others were in the same position as us, as having no asset limit. This will be a change for us with our housing eligibility. However, based on what we know from the applications that we do approve, it's income that is the biggest factor as to eligibility. And in most circumstances, assets really are not a hindrance to most of the applications coming through. So when we're looking at impact for our current tenants, we're not anticipating a great impact. There will be a communication initiative that will happen because we want to, of course, let our tenants know that we're going to be asking for information regarding their assets. But at the same time, we're wanting to ensure that we are meeting regulation requirements and having this implemented by July 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dombrowski. So I'll ask for a mover and a seconder on the recommendation that you've heard. Moved by Councillor Regier, seconded by Councillor Reinwald. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And then could I get a mover and a seconder for the resolution to adopt the report as a whole from the Manager of Housing and Homelessness? Moved by Councillor Love and seconded by Councillor Jacquinot. Any comments or questions? All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Is there any new business? We have no closed meetings, so the date of the next meeting will be Wednesday, June 15th, 2022. And then I'll need a mover and a seconder to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Reinwald, seconded by Councillor Grells. All in favor? That's carried. We are adjourned. Yes, Councillor Jacquinot.
May I say a few words? I know it's outside of the committee structure, but I would like to stand and just recognize a wonderful person who's been at this table for a number of years, Warden Robinson. I know that Mayor LeMay, our council, and particularly myself, want to thank you for your dedication, your hard work, your leadership. Leadership has been defined as the art of getting someone else to get what you want done because they want to do it. And I think, Warden Robinson, you did that. Your councillors believed in you. They backed you up. I know you were a feared entity at the province. When they heard Robinson was coming, they backed up because they knew you meant business. And for that, I thank you. Of course, your charisma, finesse, sense of decorum, and diplomacy placed you in a class above many others. And because of that, I think that people followed you naturally. I was rather dismayed when I saw the article that said you were retiring because I knew that it'd be a big hole in the county structure. But I also was elated to find out that you're going to have more time for family and friends. And that's also important in life because, we're a flash in the pan. You get up one morning, you're 30, you get up another morning, you're 60 or plus, like me, a little older. So anyway, I know how proud your mom would have been of you and your record. I said that to you not publicly, but as an aside one time, how you progressed and how you've done honor for all of us. I know you're well respected in our communities. But don't get me wrong, Debbie Robinson is also a lioness when it comes to family or defending the people around this table. She doesn't back down. So thank you for your efforts. And also, we're losing another key person, your CAO. I always said that the politicians who were the Egyptian pharaohs of the day, had the projects to have the pyramids built, but the scribes made sure it happened. Thank you.
Well, Councillor Giacono, I'm at a loss for words, but thank you very much.
I can't believe you're at a loss for words, Warden.
And I would have to say that I echo every one of those comments. So then we will, I'll call our Community Service Committee meeting to order at 1:30. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, could I get a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting held on April 13th, 2022 and April 20th, 2022? Moved by Councillor Giacono, second by Councillor Regier. Any additions, corrections, or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. And then we'll move on to our Community Services Department, and we'll start with the department report and Director Lapine.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members of Community Services. My report begins on page 3 of your electronic package. And my first item is a mixed emotion item that I'm bringing forward to you to let you know that Judy Mulvihill has put in her notice of retirement. Judy will be leaving us on June 30th after over 16 years of incredible leadership in the child care department. When she started, child care was a couple of small files and very limited programs. And over the years that Judy has been here, she's built this program to what it is today, which is a really exceptional child care and early years program. She's made multiple contributions to the child care sector. She stood up many programs. She has led fearlessly, much like the same comments I heard from Councillor Giacono regarding Warden Robinson. Judy has done an exceptional job. I know she's got plans for her family and she's got lots of retirement plans, so I want to wish her the very best, but also to let you know that she will be missed. So my first item is to definitely recognize Judy in her upcoming retirement. Item number 2 is the new home tax rebate program, and it's a correspondence that has come from the town of South Bruce Peninsula, and it's information regarding their comments on the new home tax rebate program. Item number 3 is the Employment Services Transformation announcement of Phase 1. Committee may recall that the Whole Ontario Works program and the Employment Ontario programs are undergoing a major transformation and started off with some prototype areas in 3 jurisdictions in the province of Ontario, and they're now moving into the Phase 1 rollout, which includes the area of Kingston and Pembroke. Now, keep in mind that they don't go by counties. It's an economic region based on the Ministry of Labor Training and Skills Development. And the county of Renfrew is captured within the Kingston Pembroke area. So the new employment services service system managers have been announced for the other areas in the Phase 1 rollout. However, I will note that while the County of Renfrew is included in Phase 1, they do not have the announcement for who our new employment services provider will be. And we expect to hear that in the near future. The ministry has confirmed that they're still working on that, and there is a delay. So as soon as we have that information, we'll bring that forward to committee. Employment Ontario is undergoing a massive transformation as well. So it's quite a large amount of work that's going forward. Item number 4 is the treasurer's report. You will see from the treasurer's report for the first quarter, we're on track for spending. We have some items that look highly underspent. That's not uncommon at this time of year because we have the full year to expense items. But I would say that at this point in time, we have no flags on our treasurer's report. And Chair, did you want me to stop before I move into the resolution?
Yes, I think we'll do the information items first. So going back to information item 1 is the retirement of Judy Mulvihill. And I just wanted to say I spent 3 years now working with Laura and her team, Judy being the manager of child care. And one of the things about Judy that I found is that she tends to be mysterious. And I'll back that up by saying that she reveals her authentic self in small pieces over a period of time. And I certainly have gotten to know Judy a lot better. And she always presents herself very professionally, yet she shies away from the spotlight. And I told her today she had to get comfortable with taking the spotlight today because it is her time. She's also very, very humble and always wants to give credit to her team and the service providers, as well as allowing her team members and support network to share in the spotlight before she herself does. She's very confident and consistent in working towards solutions, and she always focuses on a positive outcome. So I just want to say, Judy, your success is demonstrated through the success of the child care programs and the increasing number of spaces for children. It's been a real pleasure working with you. Warden Robinson.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think there's something about in this room that makes your eyes tear up. There must be an allergic reaction that's happening here. So, because I thought it was just me, but it's great. So it's my turn to say something. Apparently, retirement is contagious, but I'm looking around. Some of you people just don't catch it because it's not going to be good for all of us if we all leave the door at the same time. I had the opportunity of working with Judy many moons ago when I was working community living. When I came to the county and found her here, I was just thrilled. This is a woman who shares my passion for children and for inclusion. Damn this air, Kevin. Where's Kevin? Can you fix the air in this place, But anyway, I'm thrilled, Judy, that you are retiring. You deserve it, and it's if you're anything like me, once you actually make the decision, it is it's a weight that's off of you. And now you can say, you don't have to hold back until the end of June. You can say whatever you want. I'm having a hell of a good time doing it, and I've got a whole 5 months left to do it in. But honestly, there's so much knowledge that you will be taking away with you, and I really do hope there's an opportunity for some cross-training before you leave, because it's a wealth of information and an innate belief in children. And I think if you can, that's the most important thing when we're looking to replace you, is to find people who care not about all children, but recognize that all children are not made the same, but they are all equal. So congratulations.
I just forgot to add that when Judy told me she was retiring, she was actually quite giddy, so I don't think she's having any second thoughts. Judy, did you have anything you wanted to say?
There we are. I would love to just say just some very brief words. I said to my husband, what am I going to say? He said, just tell them because Paul's doing it, you have to do it. It's been a great journey, and what I really want to do to get through this without ugly tears is just to say I really appreciate the support. and the belief in my professionalism and my ability to make decisions. I really appreciate that. I also want to thank my team and my close childcare team. We are definitely a work family. They're an awesome team, and I hope at some point you get to meet them because my belief is they are what has made me who I am. Just a funny story, in grade 6, my first experience working with children was in going into the kindergarten class at recess and serving them apple juice and sitting around at circle, and I loved hearing their stories. And one day I was told I wasn't allowed to go back because I wasn't behaving in class. And I said to my teacher, well, what is wrong? He said, you talk far too much in class. I think sometimes I do that. But it was at that moment that, I felt really sad to leave that opportunity and not be able to have it. And so I knew then in grade 6 that this was my passion and my dream. So thank you.
Thank you, and we're going to get Craig on that, allergies in this room, and see if he can clear that up. So item number 2 is the new home tax rebate program. Comments or questions? Seeing none, item number 3 is the employment services transformation. Item number 4 is the treasurer's report. So we'll move on to resolutions. Director Lapine.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. The resolution is under the National Housing Strategy, our 2022-2023 allocations. I'll go ahead and read the recommendation, Chair. Thank you. The recommendation is that the Community Services Committee recommend to County Council that the renewed action plan under the National Housing Strategy for 2022-2023 be approved, and further, the County Council authorize the Warden and Clerk to execute the amended transfer payment agreement for the Canada-Ontario Community Housing Initiative, which we call COCHI, and the Ontario Priorities Housing Initiative, we call OFI, between the County of Renfrew and the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. So the background is we have attached the letter that we received from Minister Clark regarding the funding. We had been notified previously of these funding allocations, but we had to wait for confirmation through the National Housing Strategy. We took a look at the amounts that we've been allocated. They've updated the guidelines and the rules around how we can use this fund. And we've completed an investment plan for your approval that identifies how we would like to recommend the funds under the COCHI, OFI, and COB, Canada Ontario Housing Benefit, be allocated. And just of note, the agreement, once signed by the Warden and the Clerk, becomes official at that point in time, because this agreement and these funds are waiting to be rolled out. So it doesn't require further approval by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. The investment plan, as you probably can see attached to the report, outlines some of the very key items that we want to focus on, and we recommend to this committee that we look at building upon our current programs of assisting our nonprofit housing providers with some of the expenses that they require, doing some repair work within our Renfrew County housing portfolio, and also looking at launching the affordable rent, which is a program that we've talked about previously on secondary suites. So we're hopeful that council and committee will approve this so that we can launch a secondary suite program that will potentially add 10 new affordable housing units within the County of Renfrew. And that, Chair, concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Lapine. So you've heard the recommendation. Could I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Grell, seconded by Councillor Regier. Comments or questions? Yes, Warden Robinson.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Director Lapine. So anticipating 10 secondary units, what happens if we don't get that? Can we then take the money and put it elsewhere?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair, to committee. Absolutely. The answer to your question is yes. We do have a time frame that we can, once we submit the plan, if we find that the uptake on this program or any of our programs other than the COB is not working, we have opportunity to look at transferring to other similar programs. They do give us a window of time, I believe it's September, that if we're not moving forward, then we can seek to move the funds to different things. And that is a really good thing for us, given that we've never launched a program like this before.
Yes, supplementary, Warden.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm just wondering how many municipalities within the County of Renfrew have in their zoning bylaw, they allow for secondary units. I know that Laurentian Valley, we added it to our zoning bylaw a couple of years ago, and we have had no one. We weren't offering any funding. We didn't have anyone come and asking us for funding, and they would do it. We did have one application, but they eventually changed their mind. So I'm just wondering the 10-unit goal, how the director arrived at that number. If she wouldn't mind helping me out with that.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to committee. I was working with my colleague Craig Kelly in Development and Property, and we were looking at some of the things that we could do and what would be a fair number. And you know, we don't have a lot of funds to put towards this. We took a look at other jurisdictions, and because this is our first launch, we settled on 10 as a number to test the waters. There's no scientific statistical approach to it that we took, but I think, you know, Craig does, Director Kelly does have maybe a little bit more insight if the chair would like to call upon Craig.
Director Kelly, please.
Thanks, and I accept Craig as a name. My mother gave it to me, so I'm good. The question that you originally has, how many? There are a few municipalities that have adopted secondary dwelling units in their zoning bylaws. It's part of our official plan, but and pending approval today, or at least approval of committee and then pending approval of county council, we intend to put municipalities on notice that this is coming, and we'll be offering to work with them in an expedited fashion to formulate a zoning bylaw that they can enact fairly quickly in their own zoning bylaw. So you may have one. I think Petawawa's got one. There's a few other municipalities that have it already in place. But if you expand that by 17 municipalities, then it opens it up. I mean, 10 is not a large number, as Director Lapine would suggest, but it definitely opens it up. There are some nuances with the actual program, and we still have to work those out on how you can get the money, how long you have to keep your house, and all these other things. But I think many of them that want this type of housing in their community, it would definitely expand our options, and I believe we'll get 10 units or more.
Yeah, go ahead, Warden Robinson.
Thank you. I think, don't get me wrong, I think it's a great idea, and if we're able to find 10 takers and do it, I think the crux is we need to make sure that our residents out there are aware of the program, not just the municipalities themselves, but you know, spread the word and see what happens. Because it sounds to me like certainly one of many options we need to consider when we're talking about, you know, increasing the housing stock in the County of Renfrew.
Yeah, Director Lapine.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. We're digesting the regulations and the guidelines because they do have some very strict, or not strict, but parameters around, like Craig has spoken to, how long you must, offer affordable. You have to sign an agreement, what affordable means, and we're actually going to work on a media release so that it becomes very public information, working with Jennifer and her staff as well in terms of how do we proceed with people who need affordable rent. We were having a conversation recently, even, this is affordable rent is for all people who fit the criteria within the county of Renfrew. So there's a lot we still have to work out. But we have been in consultation with a couple of areas that have launched a similar program, and while there is uptake, there is a lot of administration around it. So we hope to bring back information as time goes out. But we absolutely have intention to have a media splash so that everybody knows that this is happening, and it's not just at the local municipality, but maybe some how would we put it? Resident pressure could happen as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So we'll move on to the Ontario Works Division report. And Ms. Patrick, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. Good afternoon, members of Community Services Committee. The Ontario Works report starts on page 54 of your package, and item number 1 is the Ontario Works caseload statistics. So committee will note that over the last quarter, we have seen the caseloads increase, and this is a trend that is being experienced by other municipalities really since the fall, when the end of the federal financial benefits concluded. Many areas like us are seeing an increase in the Ontario Works caseloads. Item number 2 is the Ontario Works Ontario Disability Support Program Client Advisory Group meeting. So the last meeting of this group, the last quarterly meeting, was held virtually on April 20th. The minutes of this meeting are attached for committee's information as Appendix 1. As I had mentioned to committee previously, we do continue to find these client advisory group meetings very valuable in terms of being one mechanism of many to obtain feedback from recipients on some of our services. And we certainly do everything we can to make changes where we have the local control to do so, to make sure that our services are very accessible and that we reduce administration as much as we possibly can. Item number 3 is regarding the expansion of the emergency assistance program for Ukrainian migrants. So the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services has expanded access to the Ontario Works Emergency Assistance Program in order to allow individuals who are coming into Canada through the Canada-Ukraine Authorization for Emergency Travel Immigration Stream. And this enables our staff to provide financial supports for up to 6 months to assist individuals that are coming into our community. We also have learned that the federal government is in the process of rolling out some short-term financial supports, up to 6 weeks of funding at $500 a week, as well as a coverage of a 2-week motel stay. So our staff have been fielding certainly some calls from individuals who have come into Renfrew County through the QAT immigration stream, and they're working really diligently with them to help them access both financial and other community supports. And the final item in my report is just to provide committee with a brief update regarding service delivery for Ontario Works and some changes with the COVID temporary measures that our ministry had put in place. So right at the onset of the pandemic, the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services made some changes to some of our regular business processes in order to reduce in-person contact, as well as reduce some of the pressures on the healthcare system. And effective May 1st, the ministry is now beginning to lift some of these temporary measures and returning some of the areas to more regular business processes. So some examples are our special diet allowance forms, for example, are now needing to be completed once again by healthcare professionals before staff can add that benefit to recipients' entitlement. We also have staff resuming the financial reviews and our enhanced verification process file audits. So the attachment 2 in the package is an email from Jeff Bowen, who's the Director of the Social Assistance Performance and Accountability Branch, and it does detail the changes that are being made in that area. And that concludes my report for this month, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. So we'll go back to information item number 1, the Ontario Works caseload statistics. Comments or questions? Seeing none. Item number 2 is the Ontario Works Ontario Disability Support Program and Client Advisory Group. Comments, questions? Seeing none. Item number 3 is the Emergency Assistance for Ukrainian Migrants. Yes, Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there an indication as to number of people that may be participating in the program here in Renfrew County?
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Councillor Giacono. I can tell you that I've been involved with many of the calls, and we've been working closely with our MP and MPP's office. We've had about 3 inquiries from, either families that are trying to help other family members come over, or if they have been successful in having residents come over. So it's a small number at this time. I think, provincially, we had last heard that there was about 200,000 applications through QAT, but locally in Renfrew County, we're seeing just a handful at this time.
Thank you.
Any further questions? So we'll move to item number 4, which is the social assistance service delivery and the COVID temporary measures. So seeing no further comments or questions, then we'll move on to our child care and early years report. And Ms. Mulvihill, please.
Thank you, Chair, members of committee. My report begins on page 61 electronically and starts off with some statistics. Nothing really glaring to point out to you other than, I think, quite an exciting sign, and that is on page 62. If you look at the operating capacity versus the licensed capacity in that chart, you will note that the operating, which is the ability to serve that many children, is starting to increase, which is a really good sign. Item number 4 is probably going to be an item that will be in committee reports for probably the next 10 years. I had a meeting recently with the province, actually it ended at noon today, and they're saying that the rollout of this may take quite a long time because we're talking about big systemic change. What I like about the words 10 years is it's really going to allow for some systemic but also thoughtful thinking and planning prior to implementation. One of the problems that is happening right now is that the province has promised parents rebates starting in May. They won't start in May, unfortunately, and they haven't started because there is a lot of work to do in order to start these rebates for families, and I'd like to walk you through a little bit of that today. So one of the pieces that we need to do is we needed to create a service agreement with our operators and seek legal advice. That's done. I will bring that to you in June. I was just able to tidy that up this morning. The next piece is that all operators must apply to the County of Renfrew to participate in this program. So there's an approval process, and that the County of Renfrew must vet the operators and approve them to be part of this program. And there are a lot of stipulations, mainly to be financially viable, to provide quality childcare, and to be able to serve children most in need, so to have a recognition for that piece. So we are working on that application form, and tomorrow I do plan to have the draft completed, and I will be meeting with the operators to go through that. We will get that out to the operators, and hopefully operators will be able to start rebates by September. Things will start to happen. So there's a lot of steps, and it really is, when I talk about 10 years, it's looking at, and what I like about this program is what is the actual cost of childcare, and making sure that operators are reimbursed for their costs, and that there's a provincial understanding of how much licensed childcare is actually costing. The other piece to this program, and I believe I talked about it at last committee, is that there will be a gradual increase to the licensed childcare provider hourly wage. It's not going to impact the County of Renfrew very much this year because almost all of the staff are making above that threshold. So it will eventually, every year, there'll be a little bit more funding added. I think that it is great to see this compensation happening, and I'm hopeful that the ball gets rolling and the momentum takes place in that perhaps there might be down the road a little bit more funding for the licensed childcare operators. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Item number 5 is a really exciting story, and I want to thank Director Lepine for attending on my behalf last week. Is the approval for moving an existing licensed childcare center into a new space. But the really exciting part is the addition of an early on space within that program. So you will now have almost cradle to grave care for children and young adults, attending childcare. Parents will be able to go to the early on, then elementary school, and then off to high school. Which I think is a wonderful opportunity for both families and the children. Would you like me to pause there, Chair, before I...
Yeah, I think we'll go through the information items first. So going back to information item number 1, which is the inclusion services statistics. Comments, questions? Item 2 is the licensed home child care statistics. Item 3 is the licensed child care statistics. Great to see the capacity increasing to where it was pre-COVID. And again, I want to thank you and your team for the very quick shifts that you had to make during the pandemic to go from regular childcare to emergency childcare and back to regular. And I mean, that was no easy task. So thank you for all of the work that was involved with that. Item number 4 is the Canada-wide early learning and child care system. So this is the new proposed $10 a day daycare. So I can understand why you would want to retire, seeing it's going to go on for 10 years. Any comments or questions on that program? Seeing none, then item number 5 is the early on addition at St. Joseph's Catholic School in Renfrew. Comments or questions? Yes, Warden.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just caught up in the numbers here for some reason. 434 pupils in 4 rooms. Like there's got to be fluctuation there somewhere. Can you just explain to me how they're going to accommodate 434 children?
Absolutely, through you, Chair. So it's for 434 elementary school children will be moving into the high school, and then I believe it's 77 childcare spaces in the 4 rooms. So I'm in that sentence. I'm speaking of the children that are in the school and the daycare. Good question. Thank you.
That makes things a lot clearer. I was trying to figure out how 400 kids were going into 4 rooms, but anyway.
That is not COVID friendly.
Any further questions on item 5? Seeing none, then we'll move to bylaw and Ms. Mulvihill.
Thank you, Chair. So the first bylaw is the amendment to the bylaw 5017 County of Renfrew new licensed home agreement, and the recommendation that the Community Service Committee recommends to County Council that bylaw number 5017 authorizing the County of Renfrew to enter into an agreement with licensed home childcare service providers be amended to enter into an agreement with Brittany Wyland located in Pembroke, and further that the providers that are no longer operating under the County of Renfrew licensed home child care agency be removed. And just for further information on that piece, you will see some dates where we've had some centers closed a while ago. What I choose to do to keep things very clean in our bylaws and not have a lot of bylaws is wait till we have a new center and then close out the homes that have closed in that period, just for the ability to track what we've done from a reporting perspective. And that agreement is attached.
Thank you, Ms. Mulvihill. So can I get a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Love and seconded by Councillor Reinwald. Any further comments or questions on that? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So can I get a mover and a seconder for a resolution to adopt the community services report as a whole? Moved by Councillor Regier, seconded by Councillor Grills. Any additional comments or questions on the report as a whole? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Oops. Is there any new business? Seeing none, we have no closed meeting.
Chair?
Oh, sorry.
If you don't mind, Chair, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Just one item under new business that of relevance to community services is the RFP process for the new builds, for the new build at Lee and Douglas Street here in Pembroke. We've received a number of RFPs. We're currently scoring those RFPs right now, but the item under new business would be a request for a special meeting before County Council at the end of the month. I think what we did before is a joint meeting of Development and Property and Community Services to review our staff recommendation to move forward with the architect and the design services agreement with that architect at that time. So just a piece of notice that request will be coming to your committee in short order.
Thank you, Director Kelly. That's just the staff looks after that. We don't need a resolution for that, correct? Thank you. And I think that's a good plan because we know the timelines are tight, so the sooner we can move it forward, the better. So the date of the next meeting will be Wednesday, June 15th, 2022. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adjourn? Moved by Councillor Reinwald, seconded by Councillor Jacquinot. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.